I was invited to my ex's wedding, thinking it would be a simple goodbye, but his new bride had other plans. She publicly mocked and humiliated me in front of everyone. Little did she know, a brave waitress would reveal my true identity, and everything changed in an instant. Don't forget to like, thumbs up, share, repeat button, comment, speech balloon, and subscribe. Lila stood in the crowded banquet hall, clutching a glass of champagne she hadn't touched. She wasn't supposed to be here, not at her ex-boyfriend Mark's wedding, but the invitation had arrived like a slap, and curiosity, maybe a touch of masochism, had dragged her through the doors. She wore a simple black dress, elegant but understated, nothing like the flashy gown swirling around her. The room buzzed with laughter, clinking glasses, and the kind of forced cheer that weddings amplify. Lila felt like an outsider, her presence a quiet rebellion against the past. Mark had dumped her 2 years ago, after 5 years together. No warning, no real explanation, just a cold text that read, "I need space." She'd spent months piecing herself back together, rebuilding her life, her career, her sense of self. Now, here she was, watching him marry Vanessa, a woman who'd been circling him like a vulture even before their breakup. Lila didn't hate Mark. Not anymore. But the sight of him in his crisp tuxedo, grinning like he'd won the lottery, churned something bitter in her chest. She lingered near the edge of the room, avoiding the dance floor where Vanessa, in a blindingly white gown, was holding court. The bride's laughter cut through the noise, sharp and performative. Lila caught Vanessa's eye for a split second, and the bride's smile tightened, her gaze turning predatory. Lila braced herself. She'd known coming here was a risk, but she hadn't expected Vanessa to zero in on her so fast. Well. Vanessa's voice sliced the hum of conversation as she sauntered over, her heels clicking like a countdown. A few guests nearby turned, sensing drama. "Lila, right? I'm so surprised you showed up. I mean, who RSVPs to their ex's wedding? That's bold. Or maybe just sad." Lila's grip on her glass tightened, but she kept her face neutral. "I was invited." Vanessa seemed rude to decline. Vanessa laughed, a high, brutal sound that drew more eyes. "Oh, honey, you don't have to pretend. We all know why you're here. Clinging to the past, hoping for a scrap of attention? It's pathetic." She leaned in, her voice dropping to a venomous whisper. "Mark told me everything. How you begged him to stay. How you couldn't let go. Honestly, it's embarrassing." The words stung, each one a calculated jab. Lila felt the weight of the room's attention, the murmurs rippling outward. She could have walked away, could have let Vanessa have her moment, but something snapped. She straightened, meeting Vanessa's gaze head on. "You think I'm here for Mark? Trust me, I'm not. I came to see what kind of woman he'd settle for. And honestly, I'm not impressed." Vanessa's face flushed, her eyes narrowing to slits. "Excuse me? You're standing in my wedding, wearing some cheap clearance rack dress, and you think you can talk to me like that? Know your place, Lila. You're nothing. You were nothing to Mark, and you're nothing now." The insult landed like a punch, and for a moment, Lila's confidence wavered. She felt the old insecurities creeping in. The ones Mark had nurtured, the ones that had made her question her worth. But before she could respond, a new voice cut through the tension, sharp and unexpected. "Wow! That's a lot of venom for someone who's supposed to be glowing with love." It was one of the waitresses, a young woman with dark hair tied back in a messy bun, balancing a tray of empty glasses. She stood just a few feet away, her expression a mix of amusement and disdain. The room seemed to freeze, every head swiveling toward her. Vanessa whirled, her voice dripping with outrage. "Who the hell are you? This is none of your business. Get back to serving drinks before I have you fired." The waitress didn't flinch. Instead, she set her tray down on a nearby table with deliberate calm, her eyes locked on Vanessa. "Oh, I'm not worried about getting fired. But you might want to rethink how you talk to people, especially her." She nodded toward Lila, and the gesture carried a weight Lila didn't understand. Vanessa scoffed, tossing her hair. "What? You're defending this nobody. Please. She's just Mark's ex, some clingy loser who can't move on. Why do you even care?" The waitress's lips curved into a small, dangerous smile. Because I know who she is. And trust me, you don't want to keep running your mouth when you're this clueless. Lila frowned, her pulse quickening. She didn't recognize the waitress, didn't know why this stranger was stepping in. But the confidence in the woman's voice, the way she held her ground, sent a jolt of curiosity through her. The guests were whispering now, their eyes darting between Vanessa, Lila, and the waitress like they were watching a tennis match. Vanessa crossed her arms, her tone mocking. Oh, this is rich. What, is she secretly a princess? A celebrity in disguise? Spare me the drama. She's nobody. Mark said she was a leech, always dragging him down. He's better off without her, and everyone here knows it. The waitress's smile vanished, replaced by a look of pure contempt. You really believe that? You think Mark's the prize here? That's cute. Let me tell you something about Lila. She paused, letting the silence stretch, her voice lowering to a tone that commanded attention. Lila's not just some ex you can trash talk. She's the reason half the people in this room even know Mark's name. She's the one who built him up when he was nothing but a broke wannabe with big dreams and no plan. Lila's breath caught. How did this woman know any of this? She never told anyone the full extent of what she'd done for Mark, how she worked 2 jobs to support them, how she'd stayed up nights helping him network, how she'd sacrificed her own ambitions to push him toward his. It was ancient history, buried deep, and yet this waitress was laying it bare. Vanessa rolled her eyes, but her confidence faltered just for a second. What are you even talking about? Mark's successful because of himself. He doesn't owe her anything. The waitress laughed, a short, harsh sound. Is that what he told you? God, you're gullible. Lila was his backbone. She paid for his suits, his trips, his connections. She introduced him to the people who got him his big break. Without her, he'd still be hustling for scraps. And you know what he did to thank her? He ditched her the second. He didn't need her anymore. Sound familiar? The room was silent now, the music fading into the background. Lila felt exposed, her past dragged into the open like a raw wound. But there was something else too, a spark of vindication. She'd never wanted credit for what she'd done for Mark, but hearing it laid out like this, in front of everyone, felt like justice. Vanessa's face twisted, her voice rising. That's a lie. You're making this up. Mark would have told me. Mark lies. The waitress cut in, her tone flat. He lied to Lila. He lied to you. And he's probably lying to himself. But you know what's not a lie? Lila's not just some nobody you can bully. She's a force. She's built a life most people in this room couldn't dream of. While you're playing trophy wife, she's out there running her own empire. Lila's heart pounded. Empire? That was an exaggeration. Sure, she'd started her own consulting firm after the breakup, and it was doing well, better than she'd expected. She landed major clients, built a team, even bought a house. But an empire? That was laying it on thick. Still, the waitress's words hit Vanessa like a freight train. Empire? Vanessa spat, her voice shaking with rage. Her? She's a nobody. A washed-up ex who's jealous of me. You're just some lowlife waitress trying to stir up trouble. The waitress didn't blink. Lowlife? Maybe, but I know the truth. And I know Lila's worth 10 of you. You want to talk about jealousy? Look in the mirror. You've been obsessed with her since you met Mark. Why else would you invite her here, just to humiliate her? You're terrified she's better than you. And spoiler alert, she is. Vanessa's mouth opened, then closed, her face a mass of fury. The guests were openly staring now, some whispering, others trying to hide their shock. Lila felt a strange mix of embarrassment and empowerment. She hadn't asked for this, hadn't wanted her life dissected in front of strangers, but the waitress's words were a shield, deflecting Vanessa's cruelty. Enough! Mark's voice boomed as he pushed through the crowd, his face red with anger. He grabbed Vanessa's arm, his eyes darting between her, Lila, and the waitress. What the hell is going on here? Vanessa, what are you doing? Vanessa yanked her arm free, her voice shrill. Your ex is ruining our wedding. That's what. And this waitress is making up lies about her. Mark turned to Lila, his expression a mix of guilt and frustration. Lila, why are you even here? I didn't think you'd actually come. Lila met his gaze, her voice steady despite the chaos. You invited me, Mark. Don't act surprised. And don't act like you didn't know Vanessa would try to make a scene. Mark flinched, and for a moment, Lila saw the old guilt in his eyes, the same guilt he'd carried when he walked out on her. But Vanessa wasn't done. She rounded on Mark, her voice dripping with accusation. You're defending her? Are you serious? She's nothing, Mark. Tell her. Tell everyone how pathetic she was, how you had to get away from her. Mark hesitated, and that hesitation was a crack in Vanessa's armor. The waitress seized it. Go on, Mark, she said, her voice low and taunting. Tell everyone. Tell them how Lila carried you for years. Tell them how you cheated on her with Vanessa while she was still paying your bills. Tell them how you're too spineless to admit you wouldn't be here without her. The words hung in the air, heavy and damning. Mark's face drained to color, and Vanessa froze, her eyes wide with shock. The guests were no longer whispering. They were openly gaping, some shaking their heads, others leaning closer to catch every word. Cheated? Vanessa's voice was barely a whisper, her rage giving way to something rawer. Mark! What is she talking about? Mark opened his mouth, but no words came. Lila felt a pang of pity for him, but it was fleeting. She'd spent too long carrying his weight, too long forgiving his flaws. She stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. It's true, Vanessa. He was with you before we broke up. I didn't want to believe it either, but I found out, and I let it go, because I'm better than holding on to someone who doesn't want me. But you're marrying a man who's already shown you who he is. Vanessa's eyes filled with tears, but they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of fury. She turned on Mark, her voice rising to a scream. Is this true? You were with me while you were still with her? Answer me. Mark stammered, his hands raised offensively. It wasn't like that, Vanessa. It was complicated. Lila and I were already falling apart. Falling apart? Lila cut in, her voice sharp. You were living in my apartment, eating my food, using my money, and sleeping with her. Don't rewrite history, Mark. Own it. The room was a pressure cooker, the tension ready to explode. Vanessa's hands clenched into fists, and for a moment, Lila thought she might actually hit Mark. But the waitress stepped forward, her voice cutting through the chaos like a blade. You want to know the real kicker, Vanessa? Lila didn't just survive Mark. She thrived. Her company's worth millions now. She's got clients begging for her time, a team that worships her, and a life you couldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. You invited her here to feel better about yourself, but all you've done is show everyone how small you are. Vanessa's face crumpled, her bravado shattered. She looked around, seeing the judgment in the guests' eyes, the pity, the disgust. Mark reached for her, but she shoved him away, her voice breaking. Don't touch me. You lied to me. You both lied to me. Lila felt a strange calm settle over her. She hadn't come here for this, hadn't wanted a spectacle, but the truth was out, and it felt like freedom. She turned to Waitress, her voice soft. Thank you. But who are you? How do you know all this? The waitress's expression softened, and for the first time, she looked almost shy. My name's Sarah. I worked for you, sort of. I was an intern at your company last year. You probably don't remember me, but I saw how you operated, how you treated people, how you built something incredible from nothing. I heard the stories about Mark, too. When I saw you here and saw her, she jerked her head toward Vanessa. I couldn't stay quiet. Lila blinked, stunned. She vaguely remembered a quiet intern named Sarah, always taking notes, always watching. But she hadn't realized the impact she'd had. You didn't have to do this, she said, but I'm glad you did. Sarah shrugged, a small smile tugging at her lips. Someone had to. You deserve better than being their punching bag. Vanessa was sobbing now, her makeup streaking, her gown looking more like a costume than a symbol of joy. Mark stood frozen, his face a mass of shame. The guests were starting to disperse, some heading for the exits, others whispering furiously. The wedding was unraveling, and Lila felt no satisfaction in it, just a quiet resolve. She set her untouched champagne glass on a table and turned to leave. Vanessa's voice stopped her, raw and desperate. You think you've won? You think this makes you better than me? You're still alone, Lila. You'll always be alone. Lila paused and looked back, her voice steady. Maybe, but I'd rather be alone than settle for a lie. Enjoy your wedding. Vanessa, I hope it's everything you dreamed of. With that, she walked out, her head high, the weight of the past lifting with every step. Sarah followed her, catching up just outside the venue. You okay? She asked. Lila nodded, a small smile breaking through. Yeah, thanks to you. You didn't have to put yourself out there like that. Sarah grinned. Worth it to see her face. You're kind of my hero, you know. Lila laughed, the sound light and genuine. Then let's get a drink. My treat. I think we've earned it. As they walked away, the chaos of the wedding faded behind them, replaced by the quiet promise of something new. Lila didn't need Mark, didn't need Vanessa's approval, didn't need the validation of a room full of strangers. She had herself, and that was more than enough.